Hey everyone, it's Dan here, co-founder and CEO at Chargify, and I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by Noam Livnat at Space IQ. Noam, are you able to tell us about your role, what you do at Space IQ, and we'll dive into some questions about the future of the workplace after that.
Absolutely. Hi, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm a co-founder and chief product and innovation officer at Space IQ. Space IQ provides a cloud-based workplace and real estate operations and optimization data platform.
Got it. I'm just going to scroll through your website here just for those viewing. Are there any particular parts of this that you want to pull out just to get a bit more background on the company itself?
What we've done over the last few years is develop a completely new platform from the ground up that helps companies get visibility into their real estate situation, get control over their space planning, and move management, and then provide them with insights and the capabilities to optimize their real estate portfolio, which, as you know, is a huge expense for companies and has a huge impact on how employees perceive and experience the workplace from a branding, morale, productivity perspective.
Got it. Perfect. And so I guess we're week 4, going into week 4 now in California now with our stay in place orders. You've got a team here. How has your team responded to working from home thus far?
So we moved to it, we switched to it fairly smoothly, actually. A number of reasons behind that. One, we have a somewhat distributed team. So we already had people working remotely, a big component of the organization. And the second piece is that as part of our general planning for contingencies, we had a very organized continuity plan in terms of what would happen in situations, not necessarily planning directly for the COVID-19, but we live in California, so planned for earthquakes, other issues, and so we put just a lot of these processes into place.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, you've got a plan, fires, etc., going on around here. It's
right.
Fascinating, isn't it? We were on a company-wide call the other day, and we've got people from Australia, Amsterdam, different parts of the UK, different parts of the US, and 2 weeks ago, we were saying never before has there been an instance where we've all been globally affected by the same thing. Often it's bushfires in Australia or fires in California, or sadly a terrorist attack somewhere else. It's really something that's captivating and obviously garnering the attention of all of us at this time. What's it been like for you guys in terms of remaining productive? I know that for me personally, it's very easy to stay addicted to the news for the first 24, 48 hours of the stay in place order here. What are your tips for remaining productive at this time?
It really is a challenge for a lot of people. A lot of it depends on your home environment, whether you have space where you can work quietly, whether you have young kids that demand attention, or you need to help supervise their distance learning. So these are just environmental factors that everybody's trying to deal with. Some couples tag team. One partner watches the kids during in the morning, the other one in the afternoon, right? People find different ways to deal with it. What we found also is just generally very effective is staying really focused on delivery, whatever people needed to do, and trying to stick with timelines and with the original plans that we have. And that helps keep everybody in focus and prevent things like obsessively reading the news all day long. But like every other situation, it also means that proper management is really key, right? Keeping in touch with people, making sure that they have what they need to be successful and continue working.
Got it. And talk to me about some of your customers, for example. How are they using your product now? Are you seeing? Well, talk to us and give the audience a little bit of an example. We know at Chargify, as we're partners, all about the expertise and the productivity that you're that Space IQ provides. Are you able to share a little bit about how customers were using you kind of pre-COVID and how you expect them to use the product post or during this COVID planning period?
Sure. So what we expect to see in the workplace in general post COVID-19 is an acceleration of trends that have been in place for the last few years. So obviously, a lot of industries are going to remain or go back post the pandemic to the way they used to work before. There's just situations where that's unavoidable. If you work at a restaurant, if you're doing retail, these things will maintain their character. Although a lot of businesses are not going to come back, and there'll be likely a shift, further shift to e-commerce and ghost kitchens and things like that. For office workers, where a lot of Space IQ customers are, we'll see, I think, a trend of increased flexibility around working from home.
Yeah.
As companies now, forced to do it by realizing that people do it, that there are benefits to that. People themselves, employees themselves, realizing that it may be nice to avoid commuting for a couple of days during the week, things like that. So the trends that we've been seeing around flexibility and working from home are going to accelerate. And that's going to be, I think, also supported by research that's been available, showing that typically a lot of the most engaged employees at a company are those who spend 2 to 3 days in the office, 2 to 3 days at home. So having a healthy mix between the two. Now, this is going to have implications for everybody. It's going to have implications for the employees, implications for the IT organization, security, the types of equipment and additional services the companies will need to provide to their employees as a foundational set of tools that they can use to work from really anywhere. It could be home, it could be the office, it could be the hotel, it could be the train. As far as Space IQ is concerned, the implications for this different, introducing more of these different modes of working and more flexibility will drive people towards using new technologies and in a new way, is what Space IQ provides. So for instance, companies are realizing now, I think more than ever, that they may not be using their real estate very efficiently. They have a lot of spaces that are underutilized, that maybe not everybody in the company needs to have a dedicated desk for them. And so we're expecting to see an acceleration of the trend in adopting different work styles, and therefore also the systems to support them. So maybe companies will arrange more people in neighborhoods in which they have maybe 15 people sharing 10 desks. They'll introduce more of hot desking. There's a first come, first serve for desks are available to anybody, hotel desking, where people can reserve desks ahead of time if they need to come to the office. And so all these things require data to figure out who you can move to these settings, and also technology to support the day-to-day operations of working in this way.
Yeah, there's some great data out there from companies like Gensler. 10% of American offices, or office workers rather, and don't have assigned seating right now. Hot desking, hoteling. That's something that you're saying you've seen an increase in demand for, and the trend moving towards anyway. Is that right?
We're seeing that's exactly right. We're seeing the trend, and we see with our range of customers that really range from fast charging tech companies in the Bay Area to more traditional financial institutions and manufacturing or engineering companies that all around the world. We see a range of how quickly these things are adopted. And some of our customers we're on the path to moving to remote first mode, where by default people are not necessarily working from the office. You still have HQ and they come in every once in a while, but that's not the main mode of operation. And we'll see more things, not necessarily to this extreme direction, but moving down the spectrum towards that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that in Asia, for example, over 85% of workforces have been trying hot desking for a while now. I think the stat's a little bit lower in the US, around 70%. So there's certainly some gains to be made there. But also, as you know, as spaces have shifted from, you know, a cubicle, an 8x8 cubicle, to perhaps an 8x6, or even bench seating, it's going to be interesting as we've gone about changing our real estate and floor plans to fit more people in and more open plan spaces, but now throw into the mix a global, pretty infectious disease, and you're starting to talk about spatial distancing again, and you know, there's been spaces like huddle rooms designed to bring people together, but now there's going to have to be some thought put into, you know, what's the appropriate distance inside of the workplace as well. Have you, or are you aware of customers already starting to use your software in those ways, planning for that? Because I know that one of our partners has, in their offices in Asia, already started effectively having one, you know, if you imagine a line of hot desks, let's say there's 8 desks in a bench, effectively rotating odd and even numbers day by day to make sure that they're properly cleaned. And have you seen any glances of people doing that in your product?
Yeah. So we've seen things like that. You know, my wife's company has a big call center operation, both in the U.S. and in Mexico, and they are, because of the pandemic, are reconfiguring the call centers to make sure that people have the proper distance between them. And we've been getting requests and inquiries from our customers about automatically tracking whether the seating arrangements that people have and the way the space is configured complies with these types of needs in terms of the distance you're going to have between people. And so there's a lot of capabilities that you can use already in terms of checking the density that you have between people. And there are things that people are asking for that make sense to build over time, including things like using sensors, using data to see whether people are too close together, or whether to use things for contact tracing, for example. So, you know, one easy example is, let's say that, you know, it turns out that you, Dan, are infected with COVID-19, with the coronavirus. Just as an example. And, you know, maybe the company would like to see who sits close to you in the office, so they could let these other people know that they may have been exposed. Right? You can talk about analysis of calendar data to see who you've been in touch with through meetings.
Yeah.
And that, of course, brings up a very thorny question of privacy that there's a lot that the industry needs to still talk about.